For quite some time, we have enjoyed the misadventures of a unique horror. An evil that walks among society, a disease that blends in before spreading its tendrils like a plague, infecting the minds of innocent victims, not knowing how they had fallen prey to this monstrosity until it's too late. This evil, it hungers for suffering and senseless chaos. It thrives when seeing its victims corrupted and ruined, pathetically falling on their knees before watching them snuff out their miserable little lives. Some may define this evil as a witch, a ghost, succubus, even a demon. Regardless of our perception of this evil, it is an evil that succeeds on bringing horror into this unforgiving world, and one would have to be foolish enough to stand in its way. Lucky if they ever had the chance to share the story of an unremitting horror. And that is exactly what this is, a story that survived and reluctantly shared. It all began on a stormy night, a lonely mansion occupied by a father and a daughter who are about to have an unexpected visit, when an act of human kindness would be the beginning of another horror story, of how a girl was foolish enough to confront this evil and live to tell the tale. Introduction: Tsukiko. In her own unique way, she's quite the popular student in high school. You see, Tsukiko is part of the photo club, well respected by teachers and staff, except she has a reputation of running a shady business by taking advantage of girls suffering from unrequited love, meaning at their request, Tsukiko would take pictures of certain boys and sell them at a profit. Of course, this could get Tsukiko in some serious trouble with the teachers, but knowing how this kind of work is high demanding and pays good money if you know what you're doing, you can see why Tsukiko takes a special pride with her illicit business. However, even Tsukiko herself is a victim to this unrequited love. Besides making a dishonest profit from gullible girls, she also likes to build a personal collection of her own, a popular boy she had deeply fallen for, whose name is Yamazaki. You see, for quite some time, Tsukiko felt that she was never good enough for something like Yamazaki, the most popular boy in school. And even though Yamazaki supported her high demands for the photo club, free model shots as he likes to call them, she would take his pictures under the pretense that they were for somebody else, when in reality they were for her, meaning that Tsukiko would sell pictures of any boy besides Yamazaki. He was all hers, and hers alone. But what Tsukiko doesn't know is that within the shadows, somebody has been watching her for a few days now. Someone who hasn't only taken a special interest with her business of selling photos, but her romantic interest with the most popular boy in school. It wasn't long before Tsukiko would come across Tomie Kawakami, a transfer student who immediately made quite the impact at school. For obvious reasons, described as the most popular girl in school who ended up finding herself running the Public Morality Committee. Rumor has it that Tomie is responsible for a handful of students being suspended for various reasons. A few of those accusations were not even credible. It was like she charmed her way into having some kind of self-privileged power, intimidating students with her arrogance, position, and of course, the two goons who follow her everywhere, Daiichi and Kamada. And it was only a matter of time before Tomie began interfering with Tsukiko's shady business, questioning her immoral tactics before having her goons confiscate Tsukiko's bag for other merchandise. Also taking a special interest with a collection of pictures of Yamazaki, enjoying the small moment when seeing Tsukiko cringe with anger and fear when knowing that her beloved collection was in the hands of Tomie. watching Sakiko's face when seeing her look as equally pathetic as her customers, fearing that her precious Yamazaki may have an eye for something much better. Even though Tomie vowed that she wasn't going to report Sakiko's actions. Instead, she confiscated Sakiko's pictures before giving her warning. The idea of Tomie in possession of her pictures, knowing about her reputation in school, getting people suspended, you can see why Sakiko is a bit worried, anxious with the idea of confronting the teacher about her unlawful activities on school grounds, and already coming up with a plan by having her friends, customers, back her up with a falsified story if Tomie reported her. However, Sakiko was about to face something far worse than being suspended from school when Yamazaki came to her with a request. Even though Yamazaki had feigned ignorance over Sakiko's photo-selling business, he obviously knew what she was doing, which is why he had to come to her with a special request, willing to pay top dollar if Sakiko would take pictures of somebody he had recently fallen for. And that somebody was Tomie Kawakami. It was like Sakiko's world shattered, her heart being clenched, suffocated, mixed with feelings of hurt, envy, and rage. How could Yamazaki fallen for something like Tomie? It just wasn't fair. And even though Sakiko knows why Yamazaki had fallen for Tomie, and she even knew that it was a matter of time before Yamazaki would have eyes for her, Sakiko was still enraged at the fact that her chances of being with him were now gone, all because of her, Tomie. Yes, Sakiko will take Tomie's picture all right, sell it top dollar, see how much Yamazaki is willing to pay, and after that, that's it. No more pictures or feelings for Yamazaki. It ends tonight. Finding Tomie was a bit difficult at first, but when seeing her walking near the entrance of the school, immediately Sakiko began taking her picture, caring very little when Tomie noticed her maintaining her activities, or the fact that Tomie was more than happy to have Sakiko take as many pictures as she wants. The fact is, Sakiko was enraged that Tomie had taken away the very thing she desired for so long. Oh yes, Sakiko was going to take her picture all right. In fact, she just might start selling pictures of Tomie, even get her bad side, make Tomie look real ugly. All she needs is the right picture. And even though Tomie was curious as to how much Sakiko would sell the pics for, to all the boys who desired her, especially Yamazaki, Sakiko had never thought of it, but when stepping back to get a full body shot of Tomie, the idea of selling pictures of Tomie at school, have the boys pay top dollar, at least 100,000 yen, doesn't sound like a bad idea. Unfortunately, Sakiko was not aware that behind her was Mr. Tani, who witnessed and heard everything, and was deeply ashamed and disgusted with Sakiko's actions. As a result of this, Sakiko was not only kicked out of the photo club, but was suspended for a week. After Sakiko was given her suspension, there was a horrible thought lingering in the back of her mind. Could not help but have this feeling that Tomie was not acting alone, denying the possibility that Yamazaki may have played a role in setting her up. Either way, Sakiko was going to get back at Tomie. After having her pictures developed, she was going to use them to humiliate her. But when Sakiko picked up the pictures after they were finished, what she saw when looking through the pictures she had taken of Tomie was something that she did not expect. At first, it looked like the pictures were not properly developed when seeing another face emerge from Tomie's hair, overlays or something. Each picture looked individually hideous and disfigured, But when having a good look at some of these pictures, Tsukiko, in her experience with photography, she was convinced that these pictures were authentic, which had given Tsukiko an inner sense of discomfort when feeling that she may have captured Tomie's true form. It was quite an event when Tsukiko decided to visit school and get her revenge by scattering Tomie's photos throughout school grounds, enjoying the shocked reaction from students when gazing upon the deformed versions of the most popular girl in school, finally letting the school see what kind of monstrosity Tomie truly is, humiliating that unbearable woman, having no idea that she had just made a personal attack against an evil, going around school exposing Tomie Kawakami for what she truly is. For that, Tomie was now determined to make this foolish girl pay for what she just did. After everything Tomie put her through, this was nothing more but a rewarding experience for Tsukiko, especially the satisfaction she felt when looking at Tomie's face and trying to leave school before the teachers find her. However, Tsukiko did not expect to find herself running into Yamazaki, who didn't look quite happy when seeing Tsukiko because of her little stunt. In fact, the man looked frantic, and that's when he grabbed Tsukiko and immediately began finding a place for her to hide, because her life was now in grave danger. Tsukiko has no idea what she just got herself into, and right now, Tsukiko should be very afraid, because the order has been given. Tomie's goons are hunting her down, and they are going to kill her. Even though Daiichi and Kamada searched everywhere in the school for Tsukiko, with no luck, all thanks to Yamazaki, telling Kamada that he last saw her running around building number 2 when in fact she was hiding in the photography room that he was guarding. The foolish girl was safe, for now. Tsukiko did not expect that the rivalry would go this far. And of course, Yamazaki knew that Tsukiko was unaware that her little stunt would result with Tomie making an attempt on her life. Yamazaki had nothing but guilt when the kill order was given. You see, Tomie, she's not like the other girls. There's something about her that Yamazaki finds to be unsettling. It's as if Tomie has this strange power, a magic that turns boys into mindless slaves. They would even kill if she willed them to. Even Yamazaki was ashamed to admit that he had nearly fallen for her, possessed by her charms, which led Yamazaki into making a confession, how all of this was his fault when he asked Tsukiko to take those pictures. It wasn't supposed to turn out like this. And now, because of him, Tsukiko's life is in danger, which begs the question, why? Why would Tsukiko scatter those photos? At first, Tsukiko was reluctant to respond, but she finally began to open up. She scattered those pictures because she was jealous of Tomie. But before Tsukiko was about to confess her feelings for Yamazaki, that was when the cord went around her neck. Yamazaki did not want this. He liked Tsukiko, but the kill order was given, and only Yamazaki can be the one who can carry it out. And as Tsukiko desperately kicked and struggled as the thin cord around her neck tightened, depriving her from oxygen, she was able to grab a bottle of chemicals and splash it on Yamazaki's face, causing Yamazaki to release Tsukiko before writhing in pain. Instantly, Tsukiko began running for her life, shedding tears as she would run home after hearing Yamazaki screaming in pain. Not knowing how to cope with the recent events at school, Tomie trying to have her killed, and what happened with Yamazaki, even though Tsukiko was compelled to tell her mom everything, how she was almost killed, instead, she kept the events to herself. And after receiving a scolding from her mother for her suspension and leaving the house when she's grounded, because of her father on a business trip and her mother having to go visit her grandfather's place for a while, Tsukiko practically had the whole week to herself, grounded, confined to her home until the suspension was over. Basically, Tsukiko was going to be alone for quite some time. And maybe it's because of her mind dwelling on Yamazaki. This didn't really affect Tsukiko until she noticed Daiichi and Kamada, Tomie's goons, waiting outside of her home. And as Tsukiko ran after her mom, trying to catch her before leaving, instead of finding her mom on her way out the door, there was Tomie, who wanted to visit a special friend. Tomie found it humorous that Tsukiko believed that she tried having her killed. Sure, she may be a little difficult at times, and what happened at school was something that will be forgotten in a few days. No hard feelings. And even though Tsukiko is a bit intimidated by the goons outside, and that's all they are really, just followers, like all the other boys. Nothing special about them really. No need to worry. No, the real reason why Tomie wanted to visit Tsukiko is that regardless of the recent events, she did not want any bad blood between them. I guess being a transfer student, she may have taken her position as a member of the PMC a little too serious. And well, after everything that happened, getting Tsukiko suspended, Tomie just wanted to apologize for what happened. She should have never let Tsukiko take those pictures. Didn't expect Mr. Tani would be there catching her in the act. Bad luck. Or well-timed coincidence. And as for Yamazaki, Tomie doesn't really know anything about the boy. Don't know why he would go around school saying that she wanted Tsukiko killed over something silly, or why he would even try killing Tsukiko himself. And yet, knowing how Tsukiko had taken a fancy to the boy, must be tragic. Maybe he tried killing her because of how he loved her so much. And noticing the picture of the goatee reminded her of Spain. Even though Tomie claimed that she was born in France, she and her father used to live in Spain before buying a mansion in Japan. The goatee reminds Tomie of her mother, how she was a beautiful actress before passing away. Her grandfather was once a great artist. Art tends to run in the family. He was also good friends with Picasso. At her mansion, which is just 15 minutes away, there's a picture of him with Picasso hanging on the wall. And that was when Tomie wanted to welcome Tsukiko to her place. Oh, she would love her family collection of art and antiques. And her father, he's even excited to meet Tsukiko. However, Tsukiko was not going anywhere with Tomie, because she wasn't buying it. Spain, Picasso, her mother being an actress. Tomie's entire story, Tsukiko knew that it was all a fabricated lie. The fact is, Tomie is a compulsive liar, like a disease. What's funny is how Tomie believed that she could fool Tsukiko like all the others, when Tsukiko already knows Tomie, just enough to know that her life is still in danger. Then photos exposed her. Tomie Kawakami is a disease, a lying monster that is too afraid to accept what she truly is. And as a result of Tsukiko expressing her opinions of Tomie being a fake, that was when Tomie began to panic, throw herself into a frenzy, screaming in pain as she would clutch her head, claiming that something was happening. And when Tsukiko would look at the back of Tomie's head, witnessing the monstrous eyes staring back at her, that was when Tsukiko panicked and tried making an escape before she was grabbed by Daiichi and Kamada and brought back into the house, forced into watching a horror show as another head began emerging from Tomie's head. Tied up and forced into watching Daiichi and Kamada tending to their precious Tomie, Tsukiko began to weep as she would be haunted by Tomie's violent screams, demanding her followers to cut the damn thing off and burn it. It was like another head was emerging from Tomie. A horror show, with Kamada and Daiichi trying to remove the hideous thing with nothing but a hatchet and a kitchen knife. It was when the screaming stopped. Tomie's mutated head rolled near Tsukiko. Frustrated and panicking over the results of helping their precious Tomie, not knowing how they ended up cutting off her head instead of the growing tumor, which meant that our boys are officially murderers. Just not the way they expected. Either way, nothing to worry about, seeing how there are no witnesses, except one, which leaves them with a concerning issue: what to do with Tsukiko. Because of Tsukiko throwing them grotesque photos around school, Tomie had special plans for Tsukiko at her mansion home. But now with Tomie dead, and Tsukiko being a witness to her murder, obviously Daiichi and Kamada can't have that. But before Daiichi was about to kill Tsukiko, that was when the tumor on Tomie's head suddenly came alive, demanding the boys to finish what they started by burning off the tumor. Confused that it's now the tumor, which looks like Tomie, telling them to burn off the other face before it wakes up again. And like good little followers, Daiichi and Kamada stopped what they were doing, put Tomie's head in a plastic bag, and just left. By a stroke of luck, Tsukiko's life was spared. What happened in that room? The horrors that Tsukiko was forced to witness. As a result, Tsukiko was struggling with reality, still tied to the table and trying to convince herself that this was just a dream, a nightmare. After Daiichi and Kamada left, Tsukiko was overwhelmed with trauma, the emotional struggle that had her become ignorant over the fear that Daiichi and Kamada coming back to finish the job, resulting with Tsukiko succumbing to her traumatic experience and fell into a slumber, trying to wake from this terrible nightmare, not knowing how long she was out. When waking to the sounds of movement within the room, it seems like the nightmare wasn't finished. The few seconds of fear rushing through Tsukiko when assuming that the sounds was Daiichi and Kamada coming back to kill her, until realizing that there was nothing within the darkened, empty room, just herself and Tomie's headless body that was somehow moving, the arms and legs shifting. Tsukiko still clenched on the idea that she was dreaming, watching the limbs on Tomie's body trying to grab the walls, pull itself from the ground and onto its feet. And when Tomie's body was able to stand properly, slowly it turned around to face Tsukiko, the foolish girl who's frozen with terror, and yet wants to believe that all of this is a dream. The stump on Tomie's head. Tsukiko could see the inhuman eyes inside Tomie's neck, glaring at her with this sinister glee. It was like Tomie's body was regrowing another head, and began filling the empty room with its inhuman laughter as it was enjoying the sheer terror on Tsukiko's face. And for a brief moment, Tsukiko had thought that this thing was going to finish the job, until it had walked right by Tsukiko, maintaining its hysterical laughing as it ran out of the house and into the midnight streets. When Tomie's body left, and the laughter faded away, Tsukiko was able to free herself. Even after that experience, Tsukiko was still struggling with reality. And even though Tsukiko tried convincing herself that what happened was just a dream, that night, Tsukiko was unable to clean up Tomie's blood, no matter how hard she tried.